Alright guys, time for another fragrance video. I know it's Evo, but I kind of just, I'd rather do a fragrance video right now. I remember if you guys like some silly comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it, thanks. Um, so I saw a thread on Base Notes recently about fragrances that only you like. We're going to use that topic kind of loosely because, I mean, of course, other people like it, but how about using it loosely to the point of saying fragrances you're surprised that are not or were not talked about more so? Does that work? We'll use that, right? The things that come to mind, first, a couple cheapies. What come to mind is Guest Seductive. I've always said I got so many compliments on Guest Seductive when I was first getting into fragrances. It was ridiculous. When I finally met a girl that did not like Guest Seductive, I was like, what the fuck do you mean you don't like Guest Seductive, right? You know what I mean? I was like, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? And she's like, no, it's just okay. And I felt like a burden, a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was like, wow, I guess I don't have to wear this anymore. I'm shocked. I didn't know a girl could not like this. Well, not love it, right? Guess Seductive, Skittles, a little bit of Skittles, Pixie Sticks, and a little bit of a bathroom kind of cologne kind of smell, for lack of a better word. Not kind of a, not super young bathroom kind of smell. I'm not sure how to explain exactly, but whatever. Great compliment getter in my experience. Um, Calvin Klein Reveal. I know I was trying to push that fragrance because I was getting so many compliments on it. I've seen a couple of other people on YouTube try to talk about it as well, but it never really caught on public. I think it's even discontinued now. You can still get it cheap. Buy from, maybe I'll try to find an affiliate link where I can see if I can find a place to make a buck off trying it, but you can still find it for cheap. But I think it's actually discontinued now because it just didn't catch on. But even if you read reviews as well online, something that is generally liked, and that's definitely another fragrance. I've walked into rooms before and people are like, whoa, who smells like that right now? You, right? You know what I mean? Kind of shit. Stopped on the street asking, what are you wearing? Stopped multiple times. It's a fragrance I can say, strangely enough, I've had many guys ask me what I'm wearing this too, not just girls. So, I could tell you some stories, right? I vividly remember some guys stopping me in some weird places while wearing this, but interesting fragrance. Aquatic, kind of fresh but sweet too. Green. It's deceptively interesting, right? I gotta say, it's one of the more interesting fragrances I actually have in my collection. I would say, to be perfectly honest with you, why don't I wear it anymore? You know what? I've always said this before. I think one of the biggest lies that people tell in the fragrance community is, like, so to speak, this is the best compliment getter. This is the best compliment getter. Blah, 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 blah. In my experience, I've gotten compliments on so many fucking things that people say do not get compliments. Most things, if you are friendly, if you are stupid and you think I'm good looking, I guess, if I have confused your female brain or some shit like that. I mean, in my experience, most things within reason get compliments as long as it's not too out there. Um, and I always tell the story about Aventus. Yes, I got lots of compliments on Aventus, but I just realized I don't want to wear a fragrance just for the compliments. I would prefer if I enjoy the fragrance and it gets compliments. And believe it or not, many fragrances, despite what the fragrance community might tell you, are capable of achieving this. And so, again, Aventus, like, Aventus, I think it smells all right, but I consider it, for me personally, a vibe fragrance. And when I am in that kind of vibe, there's so many other fragrances that I would rather wear. So just like, you know what I mean, Calvin Klein Reveal, yeah, I get compliments on it, and I think it smells good, but I feel like I just would rather wear something else despite how many compliments I get on it. Excuse me. What are some other fragrances to talk about? By Killian. Shout outs to Sayaha Lena. Fuck you, bitch. I think she watches my video. Fuck you, bitch. Sayaha Lena. Um, Obviously, no. Sayah, just a tangent before I go into this story. Sayaha is sending me the reformulated version, to my knowledge, of By Killian's Love, which I think is interesting because, again, since COVID, my smell is very extremely hit or miss, and but besides the fact that it's very weak, and Love is one of the few fragrances that I can still smell quite well, despite you know my smell being what it is. So I'm curious to see what the reformulated version of Love smells like, because online it is apparently not very good, but I can tell you it's one of the few fragrances now that I can still smell quite well. But that was a tangent. But I mentioned By Killian because although By Killian, when I think of their house, they don't have any fragrance where I think like, oh, that's a top 10 fragrance for me. In terms of catalog of fragrances, of stuff that I would wear, which I think at the end of the day is basically the best compliment I can give in a sense, right? Like, I would wear it. This fragrance smells good, but do I want to wear it? No. But By Killian, man, it's like, you know what I mean? I would wear so many fragrances from their house because they're wearable, they smell good. I like the novelty factor of a lot of them, but long tangent. But By Killian, two fragrances that stick out to me that are not super popular in the community, and I believe are actually discontinued. Correct me if I'm wrong, or at least on the way out. Noir Aphrodisiac, I think that smells actually really good. Uh, Instead of like a cordial, like a chocolate with fruity kind of citrus kind of thing in it, fruity fruit, whatever in the chocolate, it's almost like the reverse. It's like peeling back a citrus, yuzu, citron kind of like thing, tangy, peeling back that fruity, tangy citrus nuance, and then incense and smoke in the middle. And I've always thought that that smells good. I like that one. Again, not popular in the community to my knowledge, but and I also like Light My Fire. I've always been more of a cherry tobacco kind of guy, not very horny or horny as much as about honey tobacco fragrances, but Light My Fire. I kind of regret buying Back to Black, but I did, I was on the hype train when people were talking about it. I'm like, okay, Back to Black. And I have gotten compliments on Back to Black for sure. But even then, the compliments I get often in real life are you smell like baby powder. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think it smells only like baby powder myself, but when you hang out with normal people, that's often what I hear. And Light My Fire, I just think is much more interesting. The vanilla and the tobacco and that is more yummy, and also it has a fun novelty factor of, I don't know who originally said it, but someone said as it's starting to progress through the fragrance, you can smell a Dr. Pepper note. And I was like, whoa, there almost is kind of a weird Dr. Pepper note to this. And it's like fun, right? Again, I think it's on the way out or discontinued. I don't think it's readily available, but I always like Light My Fire. Not very popular in the community, but I think it smells interesting. I like it more than Back to Black. Probably one of my more favorite honey tobacco fragrances, honestly. Speaking of tobacco fragrances, again, I've said I've always liked cherry tobacco fragrances more so than honey. So we talk about people like Xerjoff, they like Naxos a lot. Naxos was always just only okay to me. I like Commandante because I like the cherry stuff. Again, not a very popular fragrance in the community to my knowledge, but I like the cherry tobacco stuff. I can understand why people don't like it. It's a lot of money. Probably smells designer-ish, you know what I mean? But I think it smells good. And another cherry tobacco fragrance I like is Olfactive Studio, Close Up. As a matter of fact, I would say that's probably a fragrance I might have even owned had I smelled that fragrance earlier in my fragrance journey. Maybe, I guess it wouldn't have been earlier, but you know what I mean? It would have been many years into it. But if had I smelled that fragrance right when it came out, maybe I would have bought that. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I didn't get around to smelling that till right before COVID and the world closed down, so not a lot of chances to wear it. And then I got COVID, so my smell sucks. Shout outs to I'm not wearing pants. Like the video if you don't wear pants either. Maybe I could pretend that's my cock. It's that big. Believe it. I would actually say that I would actually say that Olfactive Studio Close Up, I would actually almost consider that a cherry fragrance. So again, I've always said I would love to actually find a holy grail besides coffee fragrance, a cherry fragrance. But in terms of like best cherry fragrances I've ever smelled with like strong cherry notes, I automatically think of stuff like, you know, Tom Ford Lost Cherry, House of Sillage Number One, Olfactive Studio, I guess, Close Up. To be honest with you, it's a very, very, very sweet fragrance. And finally, as I take a drink of water, to end this video on an unpopular opinion note in the minority, I have always fucking thought that Dolce & Gabbana, the one EDT, better than the EDT, dude. Or better than the EDP. EDT better than the EDP. I don't know. I feel like that's such a huge myth that the EDP is better. And whenever I see people do compliment stuff, they're always like, no, smell the EDP. I can tell you all the best compliments I've ever got on Dolce & Gabbana the One have always been the EDT. All the extreme stuff, girls licking my neck, unbuttoning, undressing me literally in public with it. All the EDT, dude. So I've just always thought the EDT smells just a little bit better, but that little bit better pushes it over the edge, dude. Pushes it over the edge. Just smells a little bit better. And even strangely as well, coincidentally enough, you know, because after I have COVID, I've only had like 50% of my smell. It just never totally came back, right? Stuff is not as strong. Some stuff I can smell weird stuff out of. Some stuff I can't smell at all. You know what I mean? Some stuff seemingly I can smell fine, but you know, a weird thing too. I read someone else is the same way too. I can actually smell fragrances better from the cap than from when I first spray it. A lot of fragrances, the top notes, I can't smell it. You would think that's the exact opposite, but man, COVID. Can't explain it, dude. How do magnets work? How do they work, dude? All right, fuck me, but yeah, very weird. But so one of the problems is when I smell fragrances now, a lot of fragrances have like that kind of scratchy, woody note is more apparent, and a lot of fragrances have a sort of scratchy, dusty, musty vacuum cleaner smell to it, right? Or note to it. And bizarrely enough, I can smell that more in the EDP than the EDT version. Go figure. Now, I should say for what it's worth, though, the EDT that I have is more of an original version. And the fragrance has been reformulated at least twice, maybe 3 times. You know what I mean? You can look at the ingredients. So the bottle, my EDT that I use, that I've gotten all these compliments on, it is one of the more original batches that has a different ingredient list to it. Could be. You know what I mean? I actually saw some guy actually posted a picture before that there was actually a pre-release even of Dolce & Gabbana, the one that apparently had a leather note in it from 2007. The fragrance was not officially released in 2008, but apparently there are some rare Pokemon bottles from 2007 of a pre-release version that had a leather note in it, and even more different ingredients, which would mean that it's been reformulated 3 times actually. But I don't think I've ever smelled that one, but you know, for sake of this video. Anyway, those are fragrances that just popped up in my head. Remember, if you like videos, like, sub, so the comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.